we always think that everybody's shining a light on us. We always think it's all about us. But really, they're the stars of their own movie. They are not looking at you.
Have you ever tried to write under a pen name where you felt like you could really just let it all go and no one's going to judge you? Or we don't need to know the pen name?
I don't know. I don't think I've ever... I do know that I think years and years and years ago, I'd written a screenplay and I submitted it to someone to read under a different name just because I thought it was a little tricky situation. And I didn't get any response. So I was like, okay, that's fine. And in retrospect, it was a very concept-y idea. It was a very screwball comedy kind of thing. But I hadn't done any of the work. I wasn't, I needed 30 years to bake before that kind of thing was willing to come out in the right way. But no, I haven't thought about a pen name. I think for me though, again, I'm at an age now where I don't care. So, and even I've offered to let my kids read my stuff and it doesn't, they're adults. So, we watch HBO together. So what am I going to say that's not, that's not already out there? I don't think that there's anything that I could expose that isn't, exposable,
sure.
As a human being. I think we all go through a lot of those same things. I think the failure would be on my part if I didn't, right? Like, then what are you doing it for?
Yeah, but I mean, even barring some heinous crime, still people, there's going to be judgment, unfortunately, and being okay with that is a really interesting place to get to.
Sure.
And I'm not even talking about, doing something horrible, but just, whatever it is.
But who cares about the judgment? I mean, ultimately, let me just say this. I had a big fight with myself when I wrote this book. I brought the book. Yeah. So I had a big fight with myself when I wrote this book because, it is sort of semi-memoirish. It's very, personal in a lot of ways, but it's also hopefully a manual to navigating some of the craziness that is Hollywood, right? And for me, the biggest challenge was not even writing the book. It was the moment where I realized that the book was going to go out, right? Now, all of a sudden, everything is exposed. So I, of course, went through panic. And then the other part of the panic was I had to have a social media presence. And I was not good. I was the worst Facebook friend on the planet. I did not do Twitter at all. I did not do Instagram. I was never on LinkedIn. It was just an annoyance, and my publisher said, you need to have a social media presence. And I went, oh. All I'd seen on social media was people bashing other people. I didn't see any support, love, camaraderie. I see it now. I see it. I'm on some of the screenwriter and the writer, chat rooms or whatever, and I don't even know what you call them, chat rooms. The threads, and people are incredibly supportive, which I just love. But I did not really want to put myself out for that kind of exposure because the vitriol can be damaging, right? But ultimately, I realized that I was getting in my way for no good reason, because there will always be a percentage of people, maybe 10% of people who right away when you post something, they will come back, and they're usually the first ones who post, that say something negative, or they contradict you. They come up with you say blue, and they go, no, it's actually not blue. And there's always that. And I was afraid of that, terrified of that. And I just really had to get over myself, because I thought something my grandmother used to say, which is, and she just passed away maybe a year ago. She said, ain't nobody looking at you. And that really resonated with me, because I thought, yeah, we always think that everybody's shining a light on us. We always think it's all about us. But really, they're the stars of their own movie. They are not looking at you. So I really had to get out of my way and go, okay, there may be some of that comes back, and that's okay. But for the most part, if somebody finds value in this, that's worth it, right? It's worth it if one more person navigates a situation where they're coming to pitch, or they're going to reach out to an executive, or they're going to a panel and they don't know what to say, and they want to, ask a question at the Q&A, or they want to network at an event, or whatever. They're getting notes from somebody. If that one person can find some value and can navigate it a little bit more and get through the finish line a little bit quicker, then that's what the whole point of the book was. And then the book has succeeded. So sometimes you just got to get out of your own way and realize that I don't know that it matters in the grand scheme of things. 100 years from now, who's going to care?
Or they might care in a good way.
They might care in a good way, yeah.
So at what point do you feel like then you were able to go, okay, the book's coming out and that's a good thing, and not be terrified? Or maybe, it's scary.
The terror is
scary
real.
yeah.
I don't know that I think I got over the fear of all that when people started to say, oh, I've seen your posts and I really like them, or I really enjoyed the whatever I think too, it might have been, I did the piece for Variety. Cynthia Littleton was so great about it. And I said, I'd called her up and I said, hey, I've been thinking about posting this piece about diversity, and would you like to take a look at it? And she goes, yeah. And then she calls me back. She goes, I'd like to run this. And I was, and the feedback that I got from people was wonderful. And I think with every little step where you gain a little bit more confidence, you go, okay, I did that. Maybe I can do this. And maybe I can post the fact that I'm writing a novel on on this blog. And maybe I can, do something about the Oscars that just happened. And maybe I can just sort of venture out a little bit more. And when you don't fall off the cliff and you get up the next day and the sun is still shining and you realize that you're still breathing, it's not that bad. And you just have to keep going. I think that too, if you think about your whole career, I certainly think about this in my career, and you think about how it's really just a matter of you putting one step in front of the other, right? One foot in front of the other until you get someplace. And you don't think about it at the time, but then you look back and you go, oh, wow, I did that. And I did not know where I was going, but look at where I am today. I started a nonprofit back in 2000 with a friend of mine, Bruce Evans. And we did not realize that 22 years later, we would still have this nonprofit and that it would be impacting people's lives like crazy. We just did one little thing at a time. We took some people to dinner, and then we took a couple more people to dinner, and then we connected more people. And then we did mentoring programs and invited, major studio network heads to join this group. And then now we're doing leadership programs. So it's organic. It happened slowly, but it's just one little piece at a time. I think it's also like raising children. I had one kid and then I had two more kids, and you just keep factoring them in until you learn how to do it better. But I do think that there's a progression that happens naturally and automatically, and you're never quite sure where it's going to end up. You can have an idea, and then, either that pathway opens up for you, it doesn't open up for you, and you find a new pathway. Just like writing, executive, career, back to writing.